Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy to see all of you again. Now today's lesson is also going to be working with sentences. We will learn how we can vary the different lengths in our sentence, and we will learn how we can begin sentences in different ways. So are you ready? Good. Now get your pens and books and be ready. Here are today's learning goals. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to identify the types of sentences from a given text. We'll learn how sentences can vary in length to suit the purpose of our writing. And we're going to learn how to begin sentences in 8 different ways. By the end of the lesson, you can decide whether the lesson had been successful for you if you were able to identify the types of sentences from a text that you read. If you can watch and listen to a video and note down sentences while you watch. If you were able to write sentences that were of different lengths, and if you can begin sentences in a variety of ways. Okay? Before we start today's actual lesson, I'd like to revise the previous lesson with you. Just want to see whether you can remember your types of sentences. So, have a look at this slide. This is your first task. Read this paragraph and decide which of these sentences are simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. You can use the underlined words here as clues to help you identify. I will read out this paragraph. It has been adapted from a book called Common Plants of the Maldives. And as I read, try to identify which type of sentence does each sentence belong to. Okay? You can make a note of it while I read. Here we go. Sea lettuce is commonly found along the seashore in the Maldives. This plant was traditionally used for roof rafters on houses. It is considered a famine food as the leaves had been eaten during times of food shortage. It is also used for firewood and for making handicrafts. Medicinally, the juice from the leaves is applied to reduce swelling, while it is also known to cure eye infections. This plant, which has ornamental value, is also used for soil stabilization as well as protection from wind and salt spray. Time to check your answers. The sentences will be color-coded like this to make it easy for you to identify. Here are the answers, and I hope that you got most of it right. But what I would really like you to notice is that this single paragraph consists of sentences that are of varying lengths and types. Children, this is one way to bring variety into the paragraphs that you write. So try to use the knowledge of types of sentences you got and apply it to your writings. Okay? Now we move to today's second task. Please note this down in your books. Okay? Let's watch a video together about one of Allah's most wonderful creations. And as you watch this video, I would like you to write sentences about its habitat, something that is similar about their skeletons and our skeletons, an interesting fact that you hear about its teeth, and something special about the largest of its species, and how it has contributed to the ecosystem. I'll give you some time to note this down, and then I'll play the video. Ready?
Sharks are a special category of fish that live in every ocean in the world, mostly in warm waters. Some even live in rivers and lakes. Some live near the surface, some live in deep water, and some live on the ocean floor. Some sharks stay near shore or on coral reefs, while others live in the open ocean. Unlike fish that have bones, sharks have skeletons made of cartilage. Cartilage is a tough, flexible material that is not as hard as bone. You have cartilage in your body too. One place you can find cartilage is in your ear. You can bend and move your ear with your fingers, but it will go back to its normal shape because of the cartilage inside. There are many different species of sharks. More than 500 species are known, and they vary in size from small sharks not much bigger than a person's hand to the largest fish in the world, the whale shark, which can grow up to 50 feet or 15 meters long. Sharks come in many different shapes too, although most sharks have streamlined bodies shaped like torpedoes to help them glide more easily through the water. Some sharks have flattened bodies that help them to hide in the sand. Some sharks have long noses or long fins. Some sharks have very big mouths. And some sharks, called hammerhead sharks, have extremely wide heads. Most sharks are carnivores with thousands of sharp teeth. In fact, sharks may have up to 3,000 teeth at one time. Their teeth are arranged in rows. When one tooth is lost, it is replaced by another. Some sharks may lose as many as 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. Most sharks have about 5 rows of teeth at a time, but the teeth in the front are the biggest and do most of the work. A few sharks, like the basking shark, are filter feeders instead. They swim with their mouths wide open and strain tiny plants and animals from the water. It takes huge quantities of plankton and small fish to feed these huge sharks. Sharks are fish, and fish do not sleep the way that we do, but they do have active and resting periods. Some sharks are able to rest motionless on the seafloor, but other sharks have to keep moving in order to breathe. Let's learn about some special species of sharks. The great white shark is the largest predatory fish in the world. They regularly reach sizes of 21 feet or 6.4 meters in length, although some sharks measuring over 26 feet or 8 meters have been reported. They can be found in oceans all over the world, as long as the waters are not too cold. Many people are afraid of great whites, and it is true that they are responsible for more shark attacks on humans than any other shark in the world, but they would rather not eat humans, much preferring prey like tuna, dolphins, whales, and seals. The whale shark is the largest fish in the world, but it is a filter feeder instead of a predator. It eats mainly plankton, krill, and small crustaceans, but it will also eat small fish that get sucked into its mouth. Whale sharks live in warm tropical waters and are easily recognized by their spotted skins. Hammerhead sharks are a group of shark species that are recognized by the strange shape of their heads. They use the wide hammer on the front of their heads to help them catch their favorite food, stingrays, by trapping them against the seafloor. Most species of hammerhead are small, but the great hammerhead can reach lengths of up to 20 feet or over 6 meters. Many people are afraid of sharks and think that sharks will attack anytime they see you. For the most part, however, sharks do not attack humans. Out of hundreds of different species there are, only 4 shark species have been involved in a significant number of attacks. Fewer than 5 people a year are killed by sharks in the whole world. In fact, many more sharks are killed by humans. It is estimated that about 100 million sharks are killed by people every year due to fishing. Because of this, many shark species are in danger of extinction. Now people are trying to protect sharks. They play a very special role in ocean ecosystems, keeping fish populations from growing too large and helping the entire food chain remain healthy. Without sharks, the entire ocean would suffer. I hope you enjoyed learning about sharks today.
Well, we learn something new every day, don't we? It's time to see how the sentence length will impact the message that it's trying to give in an informative text. I would like you to look back to the sentences you just wrote and decide whether the short sentences does this. Normally, shorter sentences will be used in an informative text to grab the reader's attention, like this sentence. When it said, sharks are fish. We know sharks are fish, right? But then what? So we're a little bit interested to know more. And this sentence, when it said, some even live in rivers and lakes. We were like, okay, so we normally associate sharks with oceans. But they live in rivers and lakes too. So there, the reader or the viewer's attention was grabbed, right? And short sentences can also be used to isolate facts. That means pick out certain facts and bring attention to it. Like this one. When it talked about the shark's bones and told us that it was made of cartilage. Now this fact was isolated from the rest of the things that they talked about, bones and skeletons. Okay? And this sentence, when it talked about the number of teeth, it isolated how many there were. Sharks may have up to 3,000 teeth. So in your writing also, write the short sentences if you want to grab the attention of your reader or viewer and if you want to isolate facts. Now let's look at what the longer sentences would be. Long sentences are used to explain ideas and give reasons. When we heard facts about the biggest species or the biggest fish, the whale shark, it went on to explain a little bit more and give more information and facts about the whale shark. Like it's the largest fish in the world, but it's a filter feeder instead of a predator. Longer sentences can also clarify facts. While short sentences will isolate a certain fact, long sentences will tell you something more about the fact. Like they were talking about how sharks were endangered. And it goes on to clarify that many shark species were in danger of even extinction because it's being killed by humans every year. Longer sentences can also be used to conclude thoughts. One of the last sentences that we heard in the video was, without sharks, the entire ocean would suffer. So this sentence is concluding basically everything that you were watching in that video. This sort of summarizes the whole point of the video. Okay? So I hope now you can use long and short sentences for these reasons in your writing and bring the needed impact into the message that you want to convey to your reader. Got it? Good.
Now it's time to learn how we can begin our sentences in various ways. Ready to write? Good. Let's begin.
I'll demonstrate 8 different ways on how we can begin a sentence. The first 4 will be based on this picture. Ready to write? Splendid. Let's begin. So the first way to begin a sentence would be just using a noun, but this time without the article the. Now normally we tend to use the article the for most beginnings, okay? And sometimes we use this unnecessarily even. So let's try to avoid that and begin sentences with just a noun. In this picture, there are so many nouns around. But I'm going to choose the word turtle and write a sentence about a turtle like this. Turtles have been around for over 100 million years. Students, now it's your turn. You can choose any of these sea creatures that you see in this picture and write a sentence about it now. I'll give you some time to do that. Okay? You can see so many varieties of fish and coral, even the reef. So, please write a sentence now. The second way we can begin a sentence is using a verb that ends in an ing. Now, if we look at this picture, we can think of verbs like swimming, bubbling, gliding, okay? The verb I chose here is fleeting. That means going in and out of the corals or maybe the sea anemone. My sentence reads like, fleeting around the corals, the damsel and the clownfish chased each other. Now your turn. Write a sentence that begins with a verb ending in ing. Done? Excellent. Now let's see the other two kind. The next way we can begin a sentence is by adjectives. When you look at this scene in front of you, you can think of a lot of words to describe this, right? What catches my attention most here is the colors. And then I think, what adjective will I use to describe these colors? And this is what pops into my mind. Bright, vibrant. And I use this adjective to create a sentence about the reef. Bright and vibrant colors of the reef come to life after dark. Students, now it's your turn. Try and come up with a sentence that begins with an adjective but that is also about this picture. Okay? Try. The fourth way to begin a sentence is by an adverb, but not just any adverb. Adverbs that end in ly. Something with a ly, right? So if I'm looking at this picture, things like gracefully, happily, wonderfully, these are the words that come to my mind when I'm appreciating this. However, I think of all the damage that people do to our reefs. So the next word that comes to my mind, unfortunately, is unfortunately. Okay? And I use that to talk about how people are affecting, how people are polluting. So my sentence reads like, unfortunately, much of these marine habitats are getting destroyed due to pollution. Now it's your turn. Make a sentence about this reef and its creatures. Use an adverb that will end in an ly. Tried it? Okay, so let's move on. Let's learn how to begin a sentence with an entire phrase rather than just a word. The sentences that I'm going to be showing you here will be based on the economy. Here we see tourists getting a very warm welcome. My sentence is, Maldives reached the 1 million tourist milestone last year on the 2nd of August 2019. Now you will have to isolate the phrase which talks about when, a time, and rewrite this sentence beginning with the time phrase. How will you do that? Can you try? A phrase that talks about when in this particular sentence is these two words, last year. This phrase tells us when. So when we begin or when we rewrite the sentence, now it reads like, last year, Maldives reached the 1 million tourist milestone. Now the date, of course, you can omit or insert. It's up to you. Okay? Now do you know how to begin or rewrite a sentence using a time phrase? Okay, now let's see the sixth. Here we see a traditional craft that is very unique to us. In this sentence, you will try and isolate the phrase or take out the phrase that talks about where, a place. The craft of lacquer work is famous in the island of Torado in Ba Atoll. So which phrase talks about where? Take that phrase out and rewrite the sentence with that phrase at the beginning and the rest of the sentence after that. Something like this. The island of Tuladu in Ba Atoll. That is the phrase that talks about the place or where. The island of Tuladu in Ba Atoll is famous for the craft of lacquer work. So the sentence you rewrote should look something like this. Okay? We'll look at a sentence that is related to our livelihood, fishing. The fishermen set out with their fishing gear in the Dhoni, following the seabirds to locate schools of fish. Now you know that seabirds help fishermen find fish, right? But in this sentence, you're going to take out the phrase that talks about how the fishermen set out. Think of a way to rewrite this sentence so that it begins with a phrase that talks about how. Okay? Try it now. This is how the rewritten sentence should look like, because this is how the fishermen set out. Following seabirds to locate schools of fish, comma. The fishermen set out with their fishing gear in the Dhoni. Students, you can use the notes that you read in your social studies textbook and maybe your science book and try to rewrite sentences like this. It'll be good practice for you. Okay? Now let's look at the last way of how to begin a sentence in this lesson. Let's talk about traditional craft work. The number of people who practice traditional crafts has been in decline due to new job opportunities. Well, this is sad but true. Here I need you to take out the phrase which talks about the reason why. Okay? There is a word which can give you a clue. Because normally that's used to talk about why. Okay, now that you have isolated the phrase, can you rewrite this sentence again, beginning with that phrase? If your sentence looks like this, then you're on the right track. Due to new job opportunities, that is the reason why. That's the phrase that talks about why. Due to new job opportunities, the number of people who practice traditional crafts has been in decline. Okay, well, that winds up the lesson. I hope it was useful for you. But let's just check. During the lesson, were you able to identify the types of sentences in the paragraph? Okay. Did you listen and note down the sentences? Good. Were your sentences of different lengths? Were they short and long and somewhere in between? How about this? Now do you think you will be able to begin sentences in a variety of ways rather than your regular ways? You can? Well, excellent then. Again, I'm so proud of you. With that, shall we end this on a note of positive reaffirmation? My children, now you should confidently say and believe, yes, I can construct a variety of meaningful sentences. My writing skills will definitely improve. Children, you'll have to believe this and practice it as well. Okay?
Children, I must say you've been working very hard today. So, give yourselves a pat on the back for effort, and I hope to meet you soon in another lesson. Till then, take care. Wassalamu alaikum.